Hi, I'm Baruch Levi, also known as B. Welcome to Soul Centered. Thank you for tuning in and to this video in particular, which is probably my deepest and most passionate subject, Kabbalah. What is Kabbalah? It's a term that's thrown out there. Most everybody kind of has heard it because it's been popularized and by Hollywood types and celebrities of all kinds. But what is it and how do I utilize it? And one of the big questions I am asked is, do you have to be Jewish? So the last question first. No, you do not have to be Jewish. It is not Judaism per se. It is the mystical arm of Judaism. It is sort of like saying you don't have to be Buddhist in order to practice meditation, mindfulness. You don't have to be Hindu to practice yoga, which, by the way, I do both of those things. And I'm not Hindu. I'm not Buddhist. I am Jewish. I am a rabbi. But I teach it to anybody, to everybody. I would say most of my students are not Jewish. People who are looking for a roadmap. Now, I offer a couple different roadmaps. Meditation, mindfulness from a Buddhist tradition is a roadmap of, well, how to become more mindful in our lives, to pay attention. And the Enneagram is a roadmap for practical interactions with other people around us, with ourselves. How do I overcome autopilot, become more conscious in a very practical way? That's the Enneagram. Watch the video. Kabbalah is more theoretical. So I wouldn't say I necessarily use it in the how of my life, but more of the why. And conceptually, I've found that it really speaks. It speaks to the human predicament. So I'm going to just kind of give you the overview of Kabbalah. And again, you don't need to be Jewish. You don't need to believe anything. You just need to open your eyes to seeing life through a very sophisticated lens. It really jives too with science and with physics and with everything, we're validating now through data, has been around for thousands of years and many traditions, not just Kabbalah, but Kabbalah is the one that I'm trained in and I know. So the foundation of Kabbalah is that there is no God, which is a pretty radical starting point, but there is no God because that's a name that was invented much later on and not in Hebrew. Kabbalah was originally in Hebrew and later Aramaic. The original names for God, and that's the important point, is that there were many names. There were many descriptions. Probably the most important one comes from the Torah itself when Moses says to God, "What's your name?" Anybody remember? Pop quiz. God says to Moses, "Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh," which is a very long name. And it's "I am that I am," or "I will be that I will be." But I really like to think of it as "I am." I am, ... And anything after that, if you try and fill in the blank, right? God is compassion, God is love, God is judgment. All of those things are descriptions, but that's not the divine. The moment you try and name the divine, the infinite, it's finite, and that's not God. So the Kabbalists were incredibly sophisticated, and they describe this as God as a verb, a process of becoming, and our experience of the divine. Traditionally in Kabbalah, there are 72 names for God, but there's an infinite number of names for God because it's about the experience of divinity in our lives. And it's like Chief Justice Potter said about pornography, it's hard to define, but when you see it, I would say the same is true with the divine. You know it when you feel divinity, when you're in the flow of divinity, when there's oneness, which is why God is one. When we're in that place of oneness, of connection, that's the point. That's the place. I don't care what you call it. I don't care if you believe in it. I want to know it, to live in it, to be connected. The challenge, point out the Kabbalists, which is, why you're here on this video and what we do every single day, is we get disconnected. Each and every one of us. I don't care how spiritually evolved or enlightened you are. We all, in this finite body, in this limited world, get cut off, get disconnected. We lose our way. Sometimes in massive and big ways, more often than not in little ways. Just kind of losing it, becoming unconscious, going onto autopilot, reacting, as I've talked about in other videos. Kabbalah talks about this division, why it exists, the blessing of it existing, because if it didn't, you wouldn't have the ability to choose. And so when we get disconnected, according to the Kabbalah, we have the opportunity to return. And how do we return? By our free will, our ability to choose, to come back to our path, not the Kabbalah path, not Judaism's path, not Christianity's path, your path. There is a true you, and that true you is like no other that ever was, is, or will be. That true you was with you when you were 2, will be with you until you're 102, will transcend this body, and has lived many lifetimes, according to Kabbalah, in a process of growth and evolution and development, and that's what we are here to do. And so when we have lost our way, when we have gotten cut off, when we feel disconnected, we do the work. It's called avodah in Kabbalah. It's called work or service, divine service. Not just going to your church or your synagogue or your mosque and praying, but the work of returning to you. And how do we return to you? All kinds of wisdom, spiritual practice, traditions, and techniques. Those are the hows. Kabbalah is much more interested in the why. Why do we do this? Because you are a co-creator. You are the divine's partner. You are in this world, a broken world, a world filled with darkness, to illuminate the darkness, to go into that darkness and find the sparks of light. You are a spark seeker. I wrote a whole book on this. After the death of a loved one, our mission is to go into the darkness and find those sparks, because this comes from Kabbalah 101. There are sparks within the darkness of your life, sparks of meaning and possibility and purpose and true, authentic power. And when you find those sparks, you are here to carry those out of the darkness, to fan them into a flame and to carry that fire forward for you, but more importantly, for those around you, for the world at large. This is called in Kabbalah, tikkun olam, repair of the world. How do you repair the world? Not just by doing social action and social justice and social betterment causes and projects, important. Starting with yourself, starting with the Kabbalists say tikkun, repair nefesh, of your brokenness. And how do you do that? By making time, by showing up, by doing the work, by returning to your true self. And that's the work that I do, drawing upon these Kabbalistic principles, sharing them with you in our work together, so that you have a growing vocabulary and repertoire of ancient, proven tools and ideas to add to your life, to add to your process, your journey, your growth. And Kabbalah is really second to none when it comes to helping us understand the why, the purpose of our life, and how the whole thing is structured, the architecture, as I say, of the divinity, and architecture of our soul. So if you'd like to learn more or start to integrate some of these ideas into your life, give me a shout at Baruch, B-A-R-U-C-H, at mysoulcenter.org. Until the next time, shalom, salam, namaste, peace.